Hey everyone, welcome to Dawn of Titans with Drive-By Rev, and today we're talking about what are the best relics. And why does that matter? Well, relics can beef up your Titan, beef up your troops, and make it so you can kill monsters. Or as I like to say, monster kill. Kill those other Titans out there, in other words, those other monsters out in the world. So obviously there's going to be a difference of opinion here on what are truly the best relics, because everyone has a different strategy, everyone has a different setup of troops they like, and everyone has different Titans overall. But there's a big key element in this game that's currently overarching everything, including Titans and troops, and it has to do with the fact that damage per second does not matter if you cannot continue output. Or in other words, if you have an awesome infiltrator, it doesn't matter if he dies right away, especially on defense. Because then his DPS, even though it's insane, is not even effective after the first 10 seconds of the match. So it really doesn't matter what he can output, and that's why champions and paladins are so huge, because they're so beefy, they can take on a ton of damage and continue their lower output DPS, but still pretty good, but they can continue it throughout a good portion of the battle, and so ultimately they're the best choices currently. Until they fix that issue, and I don't really know how they could, but until they fix that issue, it just makes sense to have champions and paladins for the defensive structure. Thus, what am I going to say? I'm going to say that defensive items are obviously pretty stellar, but there's some specific ones. Now, before I show you this, I want to tell you about my resource, okay? Because I would have to say, if there was going to be an MVP reward for Dawn of Titans game, there'd be one person, one player that would probably get that award. And that person, if you don't know them, good lord, that person is Yuki, right? Now, Yuki's awesome. He gave me the blessing to utilize his resource, but we're going to throw it up right into my computer screen as opposed to this screen first. In fact, we might even spend the rest of the video on my computer screen, because I want to show you exactly how this resource can be used, and I can show you all the items at their max level based on what Yuki has done and his amazing work on his website. So here we go. Welcome to my screen. So here we go. If you type in .database.net, or if you look up the unofficial Dawn of Titans guide, you will find Yuki's website, and he has all his updates in the front page, and he's got this nice little tab section on the upper left side, Titans, Troops, and Relics. And here's the beautiful thing. Let's jump over to Relics, because that's what we're looking at today. You jump over to Relics, and it's got everything from 4-star down to 1-star. In some senses, it's more organized than the game itself. But if you check it out, you've got everything here, right? Let's say I want to look at the scimitar. It shows you the scimitar, it shows you its level 1 status, and it shows you as you level up through the item, everything it's going to do is you unlock its upgrade or its levels. And that's just phenomenal. You don't have to wonder what your relics are going to be. You can check it out from Yuki's resource. So thank you, Yuki, for your hard work. This is amazing stuff. This is truly inspirational. I mean, I wish I could do stuff like this on a whim. But anyways, maybe it wasn't a whim, but it's pretty awesome. Anyways, point being, let's go on to relic number 1, and that is going to be Dirks. No, I'm kidding. Boarhelm. Boarhelm's one of my favorite. And here's the reason why. And if you guys already understand some of these defensive stats, you're going to understand a lot of what I'm saying here already. Titan health is huge, but not nearly as huge as Titan armor. So maxed out Boarhelm. So the third ability is resistance charge, and as we all know, unlocking that third ability, especially maxing it out, can take quite some time, and on 4-star relics especially. But the 3rd-star version of Boarhelm is very similar. It just doesn't go quite as high. So 16% Titan armor is phenomenal. If you guys already know this, armor itself is resistance against all forms of damage, whether it's a type like fire, ice, or poison physical, or whether it's ranged or melee. It's going to resist everything, that's 16%. And that can stack with other armor, and it can also be used in tandem with other forms of resistance. So if you have 50% Titan armor with a bunch of stuff on there, and you have 50% fire resistance, and someone hits you with 100 fire damage, this is how I understand it, it'll reduce the 50% of the fire damage to 50, right, with the first 50% armor, and then or fire resistance, and then the next 50's coming at you, and the other resistance, that's 50%, hits it again, and now you're getting hit by 25. So that 100 fire damage has become 25 fire damage. And that's why people with bulked up armor and resistances are so dang hard to take down, because you're supposed to be DPSing them 250 per second, or whatever your case may be, and none of it's getting through their armor and the resistances. So that's why I love Boarhelm, and the health is just butter on top. If you think about the way the stats work anyways, armor with health increases your effective health against certain attacks. So you may have 20,000, 30,000, whatever your health is. But if you have resistance against that attack, that specific attack is basically attacking you with 60,000 HP or 70,000 HP, or God forbid you're fighting someone over 100,000 HP effectively against your attacks. You can't win, and that's how you fight the computer's amazing amounts of troop attacks coming at you in these different adventure quests and the actual quests themselves, the basic quests. All right, so number 1, Boar Helm, and that's why I love it. Oh, by the way, as a side note, there is a second Boar Helm. And the reason why Yuki did this, it's very smart, is because there are 2 types of Boar Helms you might get, and you don't know what it is until you unlock it. So the only difference, as you can see, between the first Boar Helm and the second Boar Helm options at 4-star is that one has resist to flanking and one has resist to charge as its third unlock. And you won't know that till you unlock your third item. I don't believe there's a way to tell. It's not like you can look at the picture and be like, oh, there's a third little fan on his top, so that's obviously going to be the flanking resist. It's just random and you don't know which one it's going to be. All right, moving on to number 2. Now I'm going to include this one on my actual list. It's a little less stellar now that the events have basically caused fire to be overpowered, and also ice now is going to be overpowered. But it used to be a lot of people had physical attacks or low fire attacks, so it wasn't a big deal. Now it's more of a big deal. There's huge fire attacks out there. There's going to be huge ice attacks now. So this used to be awesome, and it still is an okay item. But as you can see, it's, again, Hell Mask, right? Hell Mask is resist against physical, which used to be awesome, and then 28% Titan health, which is awesome. But as you can see, now that we don't have any of the other resistances or armors in there, this isn't as amazing to me as it used to be when I was first using it. I did love that HP buff. You got to realize with the criticals, the charging, the flanking, and the amazing buffs to damage we have now from these events, if someone doesn't have a physical attack against you, and honestly at this point, anybody who doesn't have some of these specialized Titans hasn't been doing the events, basically, there's not that much physical out there. So it kind of knocks Hellmask down a bit. But I do love the health buff, and I do love the physical resistance. And that's why I have it in my list here today. But still not my favorite, and it might even drop out pretty soon if we keep getting these events going the same direction. You're going to notice a motif here. The second Hellmask, right? It's going to be similar. I have a sneaking suspicion. Resist to flanking, or resist to charge as a third resistance, right? So there you go. Very similar mentality coming from the Dawn of Titans team on these 4-star items. You guys ready for number 3? Number 3, here we come at you, Protector. Now, Protector is something that I've been seeing more recent. I think they upped the drop, and then they changed, on the update, they changed the image because it was this weird temple dragon thing. I wasn't sure what it was supposed to be. I knew it was the Protector because it was so distinct. Now it's a shield, so I kind of mix it up with some of the event stuff we got. But check it out. When you max this guy out, it's 16% Titan resist to melee, so that means all melee attacks, 16% resist. Then 28% Titan health, and then 18% Titan armor. Now, the only downside to this item is the fact that that's the third ability on this relic, so 18% Titan armor is going to be really hard to get to. But with this guy maxed out, I mean, this is awesome against pikemen. This is awesome against any Titan that's coming at you close range, which is most of them people are using. This thing is basically 18 plus 16% against anything in front of you. And that to me is huge. Combined with its 28% Titan health, you've got a behemoth at the front lines. And you put that on, I mean, keep in mind, this is 1 relic slot. Imagine having a 4-star Titan with 4 relic slots. You've got Protector on, you've got Boar Helm on, and you've got, let's even say, the Hell Mask, right? You've got a ton of HP, getting boosted like crazy, and you've got a ton of armor, and your effective HP is out the roof. Okay. So there you go, that's number 3, and it should be pretty obvious why I like that one. Now, before you go too crazy and you start loving your Protector, keep in mind, this is the defensive Protector. I would say that this is one of my top lists, and the other Protector is not. And why is that? Well, my Infiltrator has these skills on the other Protector, critical and armor piercing, and that's all great. But I would much rather have the HP and the armor compared to the critical and the armor piercing, because remember, if my damage is not continuing to be outputted, it really doesn't matter what kind of critical and armor piercing I have. So I love the armor, way more valuable to me than armor piercing at this point, unless I have no armor piercing. And if I have no armor piercing, there's better relics for that. And then if, critical's great, I'm not too concerned with that. I'd rather have armor piercing up the wazoo compared to critical. Because keep in mind, the other side of this is, if you've got your Titan with a ton of armor, guess who's on the other side of the ton of armor? And there's only one way through that, and that's armor piercing. Thus the reason for archers. Another video, another time. All right, now I saved the best for last, and as you might suspect, some of the best relics in the game are coming straight out of events, and luckily these are obtainable for free-to-play players, pay players, and everyone really, if you just spend time. Time is what will get you these relics. And without getting too crazy and going through all the relics that we have in events, because they're all pretty stellar, I'm just going to pick out my favorite 2, and I bet you can guess what they're going to be. I bet you can guess if you know if you already know something about the relics from the events, because hopefully you're using them. Number 1, I'm going to say, is Fire Cloak, right? Now, why Fire Cloak? Well, I bet you can guess. Resist against fire, resist against ranged, and Titan health. So the beauty of this is if you have a protector with resist against all melee, and then you have a Fire Cloak with resist against all ranged attacks, I mean, you've got this huge shield combined with 32% health buffs and your fire resistance. Now, this was really big to me right after the fire event because fire resist was basically a cheat code for a while because everyone was trying to use Durot and all these other fire titans, and they were using a ton of, I mean, everyone uses grenadiers, right? So you have that fire defense all of a sudden, you're this meat shield that can't be dinged, and that's why Fire Cloak was so awesome. Now, that people have found ways around that. There's a lot of armor piercing now, but it doesn't change the fact that that is still a stellar item, and this is fantastic to have. And I believe there is only one Fire Cloak available. So that is the stat you're going to get with your event relic. Hopefully you have it. I don't think you can get this from drops currently, and I don't know if you ever will. This is an event-only relic, and if you don't have it, I'm sorry you're watching this right now. But don't worry. So those other relics are still pretty stellar, even at 3-star. Now that last statement isn't true for Fire Ruby. If you don't have Fire Ruby, I am so sorry for you, because that's also from the Lords of Flame event. And this Ruby is better than shields and swords. It's amazing. And let's take a look at it. Check it out. I'm going to max this guy out. He's really hard to max out at 4-star. 40% Titan resist to fire, just like the Fire Cloak. Still amazing. 18% Titan resist to melee. Okay, whatever. 20% Titan armor. Now, they were smart in putting that at the 3rd slot because that's going to take time to get to. But that is awesome. 20% is pretty hard to come by on one specific item. You max out Fire Ruby, and you throw that on your main Titan. That's basically going to be an item that's always on a Titan. Always on a Titan. If you're not trying to level up your Fire Ruby, start now. That's just an amazing item. I don't see it ever going obsolete unless they change the way armor is calculated. But this is just a phenomenal item, and I love it. Now, that for me is just my top list, and it's, again, because the reason is your Titan as the main player in defense and offense, he has to stay alive to continue his damage. And if he can stay alive for as long as possible, and hopefully the entire battle, you basically have won defenses and you've won attacks, right? That's just basically how it works, especially when you go all the way to the back. People have commented on this. I don't always do it, I know. You go all the way to the back and you go to the spawn point with your Titan, and then ranged units are sucked in, they can't even hit them, and all the melee units are there, and then all your ranged units come up to spawn, and you're just attacking their portal spawn. So, yeah, I mean, if your Titan's alive and he's a massive tank, it's the most valuable thing in this game right now. It's not about the damage per second, it's about the living per second, so you can continue the damage, if that makes any sense. But there you go. Now, I am going to go a little bit more in depth on specific videos on what's best for archers, grenadiers, and other things as far as what relics to use. But the beautiful thing is with what Yuki has created here, you can explore for yourself the items you have just by logging in. And we'll even go in and explore the Titans and the troops because he has those tabs as well. And then, again, shout out to Yuki. Fantastic job here, man. I'll put the link to the website below and you can check it out yourself. But there you go. That's my top list. Let me know what your favorite relics are for the time being. I want to hear it. Give me your opinions. Let me know if you think this is slosh or whatever. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We're an awesome community of Donna Titaners, and I'm excited about this new event because we're going to have some new event relics up here. And as I can tell, basically Yuki has to wait till he sees what's unlocked before he can upload. So not all these items that are brand new are going to have all the stats up, but they'll be there eventually. I guarantee it. This guy's on the ball. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to like, to comment, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I'll see you next time on Donna Titans with Drive-By Ram.
Monster kill.